So Garrison Price from the historic Wall Center, bringing in Patrick Johnston from Postmedia, league columnist, extraordinary conversationalist, and proud to have him back here on a very busy hockey week. I know we've just talked a ton of soccer.
I'm at an undisclosed location.
Yes.
Clearly nothing to do with that.
Can you believe we have implored the NHL to act like this for so long? Can you believe they've finally done that? Teams not named Vancouver Canucks?
I mean, how many people made the joke yesterday that it turns out yesterday was the trade deadline?
Yeah.
But it was kind of wild. Here's the thing. Obviously, I'm not an NBA guy. I pay attention, but I don't follow closely. And that's how I discovered this morning that the NBA draft was last night.
Yeah, I know. Very quiet.
Good on the NHL, right? They, for our universe anyway, generally I kind of, oh yeah, that guy went there and that guy, oh, okay, that's interesting. And of course, covering the World Cup, I've got basketball heads like Bruce Arthur and Dave Ebner and on and on and on. So, the chatter was yesterday, but I had no clue the draft was last. So good on the NHL. It was fantastic. Make some fireworks, make some stuff happen. I'm fascinated to see what the Blues do. Fascinated to see what San Jose does. There are chips in play. Will they pick or will they trade? And of course, everyone wants to know what the Canucks are going to do. And at a certain level, you commend them for standing pat, not doing something too crazy. But also, we know they need to do something.
Something. You don't want to run out of time. Okay, so the biggest story is that San Jose's world has changed greatly. And if it all holds here, that means a huge trickle-down effect to the Vancouver Canucks, because now the San Jose Sharks can have their cake and eat it too. They can draft Stenberg and then save a defenseman pick for later on in that top 10, if they so choose. Is that how you see it?
Yeah. Probably. I mean, it's a winger for Macklin Celebrini, all the things that make sense. At the same time, they do need guys, right? That was the clear evidence in their puttering out. Is that the word? Mm-hmm. They puttered out as the season went along, right? They didn't have enough. Petered out. Yes. Their engine sort of, and they didn't have enough defensemen, and I think in the end everybody needs more forwards. I mean, I made this joke last week when we were still talking about the Ottawa Senators. Oh, shocker! They want a top 6 winger and a top 4 defenseman. Everybody wants that, but that's the Sharks, right? The Sharks definitely need that, and so what they do with 9, what they do with 2. My first reaction was, go deal them both. Go get that high-end insane. Go get Zach Werenski. Someone said to me, I was talking to some people around the league, and someone said, man, if I'm the Sharks, I'm trying to make that happen. I don't know if that happens, but I'm trying to make that happen because that's the kind of guy they need. Forget Philip Roenick. Get Zach Werenski. Get the Norris Trophy. Go all in.
Splash.
My initial reaction to that Sharks trade yesterday was another reminder that you can set out a path for a rebuild, but it's a fluid path. And at one point, Willie Macklin was a 7th overall pick. The guy's had back-to-back 50-point seasons before the age of 24. Yeah. You would think that he'd be a big part of what the Sharks are trying to put together, but they saw an opportunity, and now they're probably going to get Ivor Stenberg, who comes in, will likely give them not all. I mean, he may not get to 50 points as a rookie, but he's 6 years younger. He's cheaper, obviously, and they get draft capital to also bolster their blue line on the back end.
It's a little bit of the Colorado thing, right? They had McKinnon, they had these, they had Landeskog, they had Matt Duchene, and they said, well, forget Matt Duchene, we're moving somewhere. And they just pivoted younger. And as crazy as that sounds for the Sharks, I still think they need to get going because this is Macklin Celebrini's final year on his ELC. It is wild to think that there is a scenario here where the Sharks, who sort of try to stretch it out for one more year, and the Blackhawks, who are the Blackhawks, will get nothing out of the 2 ALCs off these 2 spectacular centers because, I mean, I guess that's a rebuild. This is one version of it, as you said, Jeff, right? You can go and go and go, and you don't know what the straightforward path is. I don't think that means at the same time you can't get things turned around in a couple of years. As I've said several times, look what they did in Pittsburgh. Now, obviously, they had 2 insanely good veterans to start with, right? But if you make moves, and I've said you pick up stuff along the way, Eric Tulsky keeps building, right? Don't leave picks lying around. Kyle Dubas picked up extra picks just for basically having Brett Kulak on his roster for 2 months, right? Look what Eric Tulsky did in discovering that Mikko Rantanen didn't actually want to be a Carolina Hurricane. first round picks and Logan Stankoven, you know, for his trouble. Like these are the things that do happen. You do need to be aggressive. And, you know, kudos to Mike Greer for not sitting on his hands saying, this is something I can do. I can get some more stuff and I want to have chips, because now he's got chips, right? Like he can draft, he can make a huge trade. He's in a very strong position to make his team deeper and better.
And I know you wrote about it yesterday. Like, it's one thing to talk about trades, and we certainly do that. And I'm sure internally the Vancouver Canucks are doing that. But as the rest of the league is actually putting its chips on the table here, at some point, Ryan Johnston's going to have to consummate his first trade as an NHL GM.
Yeah. It's a challenge. Listen, like I when I wrote that line, I had Patrick Alvin still a little bit in mind, because I would hear these sort of big ideas. Alvin wants to do this and wants to do that. And you go, okay, that's nice. I mean, like, to Alvin's credit, he did make trades, you know, but the big, huge, elaborate swing never came to fruition for one reason or another. And some of that is just, this is a league that is careful on trades and doesn't like, but this week's blown that apart, right? So the opportunities are, now listen, you got to have guys who want to go. The guys that we're talking about as his biggest trade assets are guys that have power, right? Jake DeBrusk can go where he wants. Does he want to go east? My source said probably not, right? Elias Pettersson, if he wants to go anywhere, he can pick. Philip Roenick, who people say up and down, does not want to go. And that, as much as anything, is the story. Listen, I know the reporting is that they aren't trying to trade him. Well, I don't think the player himself wants to go, so there you are. You know, Brock Besser is there, and as I cited a couple weeks ago, as Brock would say, it's not trade season if his name's not being mentioned. Hopefully he's finding zen around that notion. But yeah, listen, the team has a few guys they want, but they all have power, and that's the challenge. You've got to find the right pairing, and for better or worse, we'll see what Ryan Johnston's able to do, because yes, listen, he is the 32nd place GM in the NHL. There's not a lot to work with. There's a reason beyond just the fact that the season blew up that they're 32nd. There's not a ton in the cupboard to work with. He needs to build the cupboard. They have 10 picks in this draft. I long said they had a dream of getting a third first-round pick. At least that was, I think, when the old regime was in charge. So, yeah, I mean, you know, the more the better. The more young guys, the better. That is the focus in the long run. If they can move on from Jake DeBrusk, that'll be, I think, great for everybody. But I'm not holding my breath.
What's the biggest factor of the two? That they don't have much to sell, or that the people that they can sell have too much power and control? Which is the bigger thrust here?
I think it's that power dynamic, right? Like, where do you want to go? Because there is an element, I mean, as much as Jake DeBrusk signed to play in the playoffs, he also, because he likes Vancouver. Right? Like, that's, as far as I can tell, probably part of the story in Philip Roenick. As much as he may chafe at the likes of Jeff and I, he, in the end, likes being here, I'm told. Like, this is a place that people like. And, so there is a desire to be here. You stay here. You choose to be here. You can do whatever you want. And certainly we know Philip Roenick has an agent who could make things happen if he wanted. But yeah, I think it's as much as anything. I think this is about player power as much as anything. There goes Manuel Veth walking behind me again. Your guest from yesterday. He's here with me. But yeah, I think in the end, it's as much as anything about the players and what they would like to get out of this.
I know you try to limit. Anyone would try to limit how much they talk with Alan Walsh, but that is the biggest piece. And I mean, hearing that he's still back in the conversation for the leadership and the captaincy, like. He must be one hell of a guy in that room for him to flip the switch and project publicly what we see about Philip Roenick, and then for him to get whatever accolades he purportedly has in that room. That must be quite a switch to be flipped.
As I think I said here, and I know I told Jeff, listen, I got 90 good seconds with him in Milan, and then there was a late season scrum. I'm pretty sure Jeff was gone after the game in rink wide where, was it the last game of the year anyway? There was a big penalty thing, and he wasn't happy about it. And I asked him, I did say, what did you think of the penalty? And he looked at us and basically said, I don't know how to not get in trouble, so I probably shouldn't say anything. And it was good. He did well. He looked at a long stare at us, not angry. And then when we were done, the scrum wrapped off as he exited stage left. He looked at me and Patch and said, did I do that right? And we're like, yeah, no, you did. You told the whole story with your face. You did well. So, as prickly as he can be, he's shown me of, okay, fine, I'll do the job. So, or at least the job is me.
The Canucks know they're on the clock here, right? Like they know that we're all looking at them. We're watching the pot boil, and it's not boiling. Like they have to know that, right?
The boil. Sorry, what's boiling?
You know, a washed pot never boils. We're watching the pot, and it's not boiling.
Yeah, right. Yes. Well, but they're used to that. You know, like we're going to yell and scream, and as frustrating as it is that they haven't been more open about their dreams and ambitions, we can keep talking. And we can keep telling them what we think. So that's you know what, that's on them. And I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to talk hockey with you guys.
Well, but I mean, there is just a reality to this, Pat, that they can't talk about clearing paths for youngsters and opportunities and bringing in culture carriers from the outside and Brendan Gallagher. Like, there's not room. There's a 23-man roster, so they do have to make some things happen here to clear some space if they're true about the path that they want to take.
And that's in the end why people go, wait, are they going to do something? I'm like, I sure hope so. You're absolutely right, Jeff. Like they need guys. In the end, they need guys. They can't just go with all kids. They can't have a 6-man or a 6-kid defense core, right? Like as good a teacher as Manny may be and whoever he brings onto his staff, they do need to get some guys, and they need to fill out this roster, and they need to be smart and interesting. And, you know, they need to avoid Evander Kane 2.0, although supposedly he was good down the stretch, and then, of course, he disappeared. Brendan Gallagher would be a great pickup. I think he's been there. Obviously, he's seen what it takes. Just that details shows up every day kind of guy. And I don't think it would take very much to get him, right? Like, that's the thing. They have all these extra late round picks. Like, move one of those, make it happen. I don't think Montreal's after too much. Montreal's not exactly in a cap problem. Like, that's the other thing, right? Like, they can kind of do what they like. But yeah, like, you're totally right, Jeff. Like, we have the draft in 2 days. Like, it's kind of crazy. Like, we've been sitting here wondering all this time, and now we know how the picks are going to unfold. So now the Canucks have to make some choices. And, you know, I said for a long time they should try to trade for 2. Well, that's probably not going to happen. I think they should try to get as many more picks as they can, and the guys that they have should bring in something. So there we go. There's that word again.
I mean, the draft is Friday, Saturday, so we're working our way to that. But also this weekend, their development camp starts out in Abbotsford. Are you at all surprised that Manny hasn't rounded out his staff and they don't have a head coach? Like, usually it's the Abbotsford staff that conducts the development camp.
Yeah, it's a great point, Jeff. And you know, it is a little bit of the sort of nature of all of it, and you kind of get anxious. And this is why, you know, I mentioned I've heard they want to cut budget on players. That was part of the way they sold the rebuild. Said, listen, you're not going to have to spend as much. There is a financial dynamic in all this. You know, like how much of trying to build out your staff is about the fact that, I mean, obviously they've gotten off Adam Foote because now he's with Utah, right? But like slowly but surely, they still have 3 assistant coaches they're paying, right? And they've got a general manager. Well, I guess he's moved on, so they're not paying Patrick Alvine either, but they're paying Jim Rutherford. You know, like there are things. There is a bit of money out, so you'd think they would have hopped on something by now. But you're absolutely right. Like, if you're going to teach the quote the Canuck way, you'd like to have had more than, I don't know, a morning meeting before they hit the ice on Monday or Sunday or whenever it is they actually hit the ice versus whatever they've told us. So
here's a bag of pucks. Go develop, guys.
Yeah, Marco Terenius, you can run everything. You're the last man standing. Go make it happen.
They now have Chase Reid back on their table, probably at number 3.
Yeah.
Does that have you changed now that we know that San Jose can guilt-free potentially take Stenberg and get their defenseman later? Do the Canucks draft Chase Reid now?
Well, one of the things that I'm not sure I've heard it mentioned much about Chase Reid is the program he's come out of. He's come out of the Sioux, right? Kirill Kudryavtsev, right? Like, Kyle Raftis has run a great program there, inheriting from Kyle Dubas. Like, those guys know how to put together pros, and Chase Reid, having played there, stands out to me as in his favor. I generally do the Tony Gallagher thing, is don't ask me about prospects. I'm not going to pretend I know what I'm talking about for a week. Yeah. I am, of course, familiar with the names by this point, and so that's what I got. I don't pretend to know what they're going to do. I know Caleb Malhotra is still obviously a great appeal to them. And so I would not be shocked if they go with him, but I also wouldn't be shocked if they go with one of the defensemen, because at the end of the day, you can never have too. I mean, you can never have too much of anything. but they really do need to juice that back end. They do, beyond Zibuim, I mean, Tom Willander's going to be a solid pro, but beyond Zibuim, they do not have a potential out-and-out elite number one, number two kind of defenseman in coming up, and you need another guy like that. And that's, to me, you build the spine. It's just like in soccer, right? You want to have good midfield, good central defender, good striker, and they need all of those things. So you might as well get yourself another quality defenseman.
Have you heard anything about the practice facility that they were talking about?
No.
I know that
there's a lot up there.
Frigid.
Honestly, I talked to a couple of people in the community, and I don't think it's terribly loved in the community. That community knows what it needs, and the Canucks should know what it needs. And I've said this before: build another sheet. Like, that's what we need. Build another sheet. Vancouver Canucks will be absolute heroes. People would hold parades for them just building a new sheet of ice. First time in 50 years we've had sheet of ice. This is a community that never hosts tournaments because we don't have any multi-rink, multi-ice facilities. I think about the suggestions made to me to blow up the Agrodome, build a fourplex there. Like, there are options here. Yes. There's options here. The Canucks could absolutely be involved in almost minimal effort, next to no cost. They could find ways to get their money back in spades and build community legacy. So yeah, I'm not surprised it's gone a bit quiet, just because in the end the proposal was just a building, and people are like, "That's it." And there's a lot. I mean, on the flip side, listen, that development, that whole Britannia development, has been stalled for years for a whole bunch of reasons. Some of it's money, some of it's local politics, and it's dealing with community boards and dealing with city council and dealing with the parks board and dealing with the school board and dealing with the province, right? Like, there's a lot of stakeholders involved here, so it's not surprising it keeps lurching. It kind of comes to a halt every once in a while. But that said, everything I've heard out of the community is that they want a sheet of ice attached to this building, and they do not understand why the Canucks wouldn't be jumping up and down to make that happen.
And any
Well, I was going to say, we know that there's a sheet of ice being built out in Surrey, but A, it's a little too far, and B, it's a little too big for a practice facility. But do we have any idea of who's going to move in there? They talked about a team being attached.
Yeah, I know. It's a real mystery. I've, Steve Ewan and I have been talking about it. And, there's obviously lots of funny stuff going on locally. Like, I did try poking someone who might know, and they basically said, "I can't tell you." And then they went, "Okay, who are they working with? I'm not sure." And then, of course, there's the whole fiasco with the Dub in Chilliwack. That's the only other thing I can maybe think of, that somehow there's an adjacent thing to that. But I can't imagine the Giants would be happy about that.
No, can't do that.
Right? So you can't do that. So, yeah, it's a real, like, could there be, I mean, obviously we know the Canucks are set up in Abbotsford, so could they put an ECHL team? But, like, who would they play? Everything's so far away. Like, I just can't imagine what it would be unless it's somehow some crazy save SFU men's hockey pro. I'm literally spitballing. Like, I do not know. I can't imagine what it would be beyond the fact that supposedly, as we've heard, there's somebody tagged to it, and we'll see what happens.
The Puck Nuts, they need a place to play. PJ.
Yes. There we go. Yes, absolutely. Let's go.
Midnight at the new Surrey Arena. It's earmarked for you guys.
Yeah, listen, we graduated.
Prime time.
Listen, UBC intramural hockey was at like 12:30 a.m. And I left that 20 years ago, mercifully. 20 plus years ago, and now we're playing tonight at 10:30, so we've moved up in the world.
It's still daylight these days at 10:30.
I know. It's disgusting.
barely evening at 10:30.
All right, guys, big day.
Hopefully this hit sees the light of day, because that means that the Vancouver Canucks have not pulled off a trade, but then I'll also be at the same time eminently disappointed if this sees the light of day and the Canucks have not pulled off a trade. We'll touch base soon, PJ, and mix it on water tonight. We'll talk next week.
Take care, guys.